Hey, welcome back to the Focus Group. Tim and I are plotting and planning.
Let's go to the rodeo.
And Tim now, the bulb goes off over his head and he says, wait a minute. We have a video camera and we have John at the rodeo.
I might even have a table, he said, set up.
I think we got a viral video happening. I think we're going to lightning in a effing bottle. That's viral video for you. Okay. This article comes to us from entrepreneur.com, and it's called When Invoices Are Paid Late, the Crippling Effects Small Businesses Suffer. If small businesses were paid on time, here's the basic tenet. They could hire an additional 2.1 million employees and reduce U.S. unemployment by 27%. So, in a nutshell, U.S. small businesses are currently owed approximately $825 billion in hey, let me repeat that: $825 billion in unpaid invoices. To personalize it, many of you watching or listening may have the benefit of working for a company that pays you on a regular 2-week basis, which is fantastic. If you're one of the 47% of Americans, or 51%, depending on the stat, that own your own business, or you're a sole proprietor or a sole contractor, you know what this means. This is I'll pay, the net 45, the net 60, the 90, and the longer a receivable goes uncollected, in some ways, the less valuable it becomes, even though you gave the work and the product was delivered. So, Tim, what was some of the takeaways?
So the other takeaway, or some of the key findings, were 79% of small business owners then can't pay themselves, because obviously you pay everybody else before yourself.
Yeah.
23% can't hire new employees, can't invest in new equipment. 20% stop their marketing efforts. 18% hold back pay or pay increases or bonuses for employees. And then it's equally a problem with maintaining or holding inventory. They also said that they estimate that if people did pay their invoices on time, that 2.1 million employees could be hired, which would reduce unemployment in the U.S. by 27%. So think of that. Right. Think of that if you paid your invoices on time. It seems to be prevalent. John and I scratch our heads all the time. When I was in corporate America, I learned from the best that you get a bill, you pay your invoices. It's ridiculous that some of these large companies do not pay their invoices. And I used to fight with some of the people in the department. There was one guy that he didn't pay, and for no reason, where he was just lazy. There was a transportation company that had moved some items, and we had an outstanding balance of $2,100 for 9 months. And I said to him, "What are you holding $2,100 for?" He goes, "I just haven't, what for?" I said, "That's a small mom and pop business that did a service last minute for you and did it to your satisfaction. Pay them." And this stuff goes on all the time, and we hear it nonstop. Enough that there's actually now articles and things. Just actually Google it, and you'll see it everywhere.
That was the fascinating thing. This came across our radar. It happens to me and Tim all the time. We have a great...
We've done work we haven't been paid for.
We've got a great group of partners and sponsors, and fantastic usually on that side of things. But in both our business lives and in our consulting lives, you come across someone who they don't pay a bill. And we're not talking about another small company who... And then there's the etiquette of this, too, which intrigues me. So... You're made to seem like the bogeyman or the bad guy for calling up and saying, "Could I please have the money you owe me?" Because that's
from 5 months ago.
From 5 months ago or 4 months ago. And that's the most fascinating thing about this. Imagine for a moment you go to a grocery store and you buy a bag of groceries, and on your way out you just casually say to the owner of the store, "I'll hit you up 2 weeks from now for the milk and the eggs that I'm buying right now." You wouldn't make it past the front door.
No.
And imagine if your employer came to you and said, and I bet this has happened to some people, depending on the size of the company, but let's say you work for like a big company and the employer's like, we have a new policy. We're going to be getting 0.001% on the money in the bank. So from now on, if you work, your January paychecks will be delivered to you in March. So then what do? The bank, the mortgage company doesn't care if you're getting paid 6 months late. The utility company certainly doesn't care if you're getting, neither does Verizon. They need, everybody pays on. So why is it that we are always paying on time, but
what are you going to do as a small business? You're not going to sue one of these large, manufacturing concerns or one of these large consumer products companies or whatever that's not paying their bill. I did a 3-week assignment once as a favor when I first went out on my own. Every day I was there 8 in the morning, stayed till 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, Sent the invoice in, never heard, kept asking for the invoice to be paid. Finally, the guy's like, we just don't, we'll take you to lunch. Now, meanwhile, I just put in,
How are you
put in 120, 140 hours worth of work and helped them create a diversity message and do all the stuff they wanted to do. They'd since gone belly up, but it's just that stuff just irks me because, again, I was always it's not when you're at a big company, it's not your money. No. Somebody provides a service, they need to get paid, and so this small business thing, it's one of my pet peeves, and I
we just talked about it at lunch
drives me crazy.
too.
Drives me crazy.
I'll put a cap on the story by saying the following: the team that put that piece together came up with the following numbers. They estimated that if paid on time, a small business owner could pay himself an incremental $30,000 more a year, purchase $10,000 more in new equipment, and we're talking laptops, editing systems, whatever. An incremental, they could spend $9,000 more a year in marketing. So see how the trickle-down effect goes?
Which means that those marketing companies that they work with are going to get paid, blah, blah, blah.
They could spend an additional $7,400 to increase bonuses to employees, and they could get up to an incremental $6,000 in inventory, meaning they have a little bit of a backlog of something, if something sells out or whatever. Real impact for these bigger guys not paying their bills. And Tim and I have yet to figure out what the benefit of not paying the bill is.